As we speak, 75% of global trade relies on the US dollar, but this dominance is facing a transformative challenge. BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, representing 46% of the world's population, are leading a shift that could reshape the future of global finance. With increasing gold reserves and a clear move away from the dollar, the question is, what does this mean for you? The world is changing rapidly, and the consequences for individuals and economies are profound. Just think back to the fall of the Berlin Wall, the dot-com bubble, or the 2008 financial crisis. Each of these moments reshaped the world. Today, we may be standing on the brink of another seismic shift. But how did the US dollar come to dominate the global economy in the first place? To understand, we need to travel back to 1944. In the aftermath of World War II, the United States emerged as an economic superpower. The Bretton Woods Agreement established the dollar as the anchor of global finance, making it the go-to currency for trade, investment, and debt. The world trusted the dollar because it was backed by the strength of the US economy, and other currencies were tied to it. But that wasn't the only moment that cemented the dollar's dominance. In 1974, amidst the turmoil of the 1973 oil crisis, the US made a pivotal deal with Saudi Arabia, the Petrodollar Agreement. This ensured that all Saudi oil would be sold exclusively in dollars. This system didn't just stabilize global oil markets, it also created a captive demand for the dollar worldwide. Countries needed to hold US dollars to buy oil, reinforcing its status as the world's primary reserve currency. Fast forward to today. The world has changed dramatically. Emerging economies are rising, geopolitical tensions are growing, and technological advancements are reshaping trade. On top of that, the expiration of the Petrodollar Agreement in June 2024 marks a pivotal moment. Saudi Arabia can now trade oil in other currencies, potentially weakening the dollar's influence. But before we talk about the potential impact on businesses, individuals, and the global economy, let's take a closer look at BRICS itself. What makes BRICS so powerful? What's driving their rapid rise? And most importantly, how could their actions disrupt the balance of power that's been in place for decades? BRICS, comprising Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, has rapidly transformed from an emerging idea to a dominant global force. Defying expectations, this coalition now stands as one of the most formidable economic and political groups in the world, challenging the established order and reshaping the global landscape. The term BRICS was first coined in the early 2000s by economist Jim O'Neill, who predicted that these nations would become the next big thing in global economics by 2050. What was once a theory has now become reality. These countries have not only met but exceeded expectations, growing in influence and cooperation year after year. At the BRICS Summit in Johannesburg in August 2023, the group took a historic step forward. They expanded their ranks by admitting 6 new members: Argentina, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates. This new wave of members, effective January 2024, places BRICS in an even more commanding position. With 46.5% of the world's population and over 37% of global GDP, the newly expanded BRICS Plus now surpasses the economic influence of the European Union and rivals the G7, which controls about 30% of global GDP. BRICS has grown in both economic stature and political influence by leveraging several key factors. 1. Demographic dividends. With large, youthful populations, many BRICS nations are seeing the benefits of having a vast and energetic labor pool driving their economies forward. 2. Natural resources. BRICS nations are rich in natural resources, minerals, energy, and agricultural products that have been crucial in fueling their rapid growth. 3. Strategic alliances. Through coordinated policies, investments in infrastructure, and trade agreements, BRICS nations have solidified their collective influence. Key institutions like the New Development Bank and the Contingent Reserve Arrangement provide financial stability and development aid to member nations, further increasing their global clout. However, this recent expansion doesn't just enhance BRICS's economic power, it also elevates its geopolitical influence. By welcoming Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, BRICS now controls a significant portion of the world's oil reserves. This amplifies their ability to shape global energy markets, further diminishing the dominance of the US dollar. But BRICS' ambitions go beyond economic growth. They are laying the groundwork for a new global financial order, one that could potentially erode the long-standing supremacy of the US dollar and Western-led institutions like the IMF and the World Bank. They are even developing alternatives to Western-controlled networks like SWIFT, which currently facilitate global financial transactions, a significant threat to the dollar's dominance, marking a seismic shift in global power dynamics. As the world watches, BRICS is setting the stage for a potential financial conflict that could redefine the world economy. The stakes have never been higher. On February 24, 2022, Russia's so-called military operations in Ukraine triggered unprecedented sanctions from the US and NATO, isolating Russia from the international financial system, targeting its largest financial institutions, cutting them off from global financial networks, and limiting access to the US dollar, which underpins much of global trade. In response, BRICS nations have grown increasingly critical of the US dollar's dominance, recognizing the risks of relying on a currency that can be weaponized through sanctions. To counteract this, BRICS has taken significant steps to reduce its dependence on the dollar and build a more equitable global financial system. One of the most pivotal moments in this shift came in June 2024, when Saudi Arabia chose not to renew its 50-year petrodollar agreement with the US. Originally forged in 1974, this deal ensured that Saudi oil was exclusively traded in US dollars, solidifying the dollar's role as the world's primary reserve currency. The end of this agreement allows Saudi Arabia to sell oil in multiple currencies, including the Chinese yuan, euros, and potentially digital currencies, signaling a potential weakening of the dollar's dominance. This move by Saudi Arabia, coupled with BRICS' initiatives like the New Development Bank and the Contingent Reserve Arrangement, underscores the bloc's strategic efforts to create a new global financial order. These systems aim to bypass the traditional US dollar-dominated channels, providing a more equitable and inclusive platform for international trade and finance. Key initiatives include the New Development Bank, NDB. Established by BRICS in 2014, the NDB offers loans, investments, and technical assistance to member countries and other developing nations. By providing an alternative source of financing, the NDB reduces reliance on the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, which are heavily influenced by Western powers. The Contingent Reserve Arrangement, CRA. This is a $100 billion pool of emergency funds created by BRICS members to provide financial support to each other during times of economic crisis. The CRA helps to reduce the need for countries to rely on the International Monetary Fund, which often imposes stringent conditions on loans. Local currency settlements. BRICS nations have been encouraging trade settlements in local currencies rather than US dollars. This helps to reduce the demand for dollars and strengthens the position of local currencies in international transactions. The BRICS nations aren't just playing defense, they're launching a full-scale offensive against the dollar's throne. Beyond alternative financial systems, they've dared to dream of a new world currency. It's a risky gamble, but one that could shake the very foundations of global finance. This isn't just a battle for the dollar, it's a battle for power and control. The BRICS are challenging the West's grip on the global economy, building their networks and their own rules. The stage is set for a clash of titans, a battle that could redefine the global economy and finance for generations to come. But what could happen if the dollar truly begins to fall? Now, let's dive into the most important part. The US is facing a $35 trillion national debt. Now, imagine what could happen if the US dollar, the backbone of global finance, starts to lose its power. The impact could be devastating. First, inflation. As the dollar weakens, it loses value compared to other currencies. This makes imported goods like food and gas more expensive. The higher costs get passed on to consumers, driving prices up everywhere. Families would feel the squeeze as their money buys less, making it harder to afford even the basics. Inflation would eat away at their ability to keep up with everyday expenses. Next, economic instability. A shift away from the dollar could create uncertainty in global financial markets, resulting in increased volatility and potential market crashes. Countries that rely heavily on the US dollar, especially those with a lot of dollar-based debt, could face severe economic problems. Next, debt crisis. With $35 trillion in debt, the US is already under pressure. If the dollar loses value, it would become much harder for the country to manage its debt. Rising interest rates could make borrowing more expensive, pushing the US closer to a potential debt crisis that could shake the global economy. Furthermore, geopolitical shifts. A decline in the dollar's dominance could alter the balance of power on the global stage, shifting influence away from the United States and toward other major economies like China and the BRICS nations. These shifts in power dynamics could lead to changes in international relations as countries seek to form new alliances and partnerships to protect their economic interests. Lastly, the loss of influence. For years, the US has used the dollar to influence global events and impose sanctions. But as the dollar's power fades, so does America's ability to control global outcomes. This could weaken the US's position on the world stage and reduce its influence over international decisions. The potential consequences of a declining US dollar are serious and interconnected. These changes could affect everyone, and the big question is not if they will happen, but how soon and how deeply they will impact our lives. A decline in the US dollar's dominance could have a significant impact on the lives of ordinary people around the world. Here are some of the potential consequences. First, savings and investments. If the value of the dollar decreases, the purchasing power of savings and investments denominated in dollars may also decline. This could lead to a loss of wealth for individuals with substantial savings or investments in dollar-denominated assets. Next, foreign travel. As the dollar weakens, foreign travel becomes more expensive. This can limit opportunities for travel and reduce the affordability of vacations and study abroad programs. Then, the cost of goods. The cost of imported goods may increase, leading to higher prices for consumers. This can put a strain on household budgets and reduce living standards. Job security is another concern. As businesses face rising costs and shrinking profits due to inflation, they might be forced to cut back, leading to layoffs and higher unemployment. With the economy in turmoil, millions could find their jobs at risk as companies struggle to stay afloat. Finally, currency risk. Individuals who hold foreign currency or have investments in foreign markets may be exposed to currency risk. If the value of the dollar declines relative to other currencies, these individuals could experience losses. It's important to note that the impact of a declining US dollar on individuals may vary depending on factors such as income, savings, investments, and geographic location. However, some may be able to mitigate the negative effects of a weaker dollar through careful financial planning and diversification. The world is changing fast, and the decline of the US dollar signals big shifts in the global economy. These changes could impact everyone, individuals, businesses, and nations. Now is the time to act. Stay updated on global events, especially how BRICS nations are challenging the dollar. Diversify your investments to protect against currency risks, and be ready to adapt as the economy shifts. The future is uncertain, but by staying informed and proactive, you can navigate the changes and seize new opportunities.